All right, so I'm going to dive right in. We do prefer you guys to be on a desktop for this to get the richest experience. I just want to make sure everybody hear me okay? We good? Great, thank you, Kate. Okay, so we do prefer you on desktop. You can watch it on mobile. It's just not as rich of experience. We do hope that when we get to the meditation portion that you are in a spot that you won't be interrupted, whether that's seated or lying down. There's no right or wrong way to do meditation. We're going to get into that. You just want to be in a comfortable spot that you can close your eyes, you feel comfortable, and that you won't be interrupted. That's the biggest thing when we get to the guided meditation portion. So if you're not there now, you have an hour to get there. So we're going to start that in the second hour. Let's see. We already went through that. Yeah, so if you have a question, put it there. We're going to try to get to as many people as we can on the questions. If we don't, we'll get to you afterwards. So today we're going to talk about meditation. We're going to talk about the magic of meditation and how people are managing everything from ADHD to MS. There's stories of people using meditation to get out of their wheelchairs with MS. We're going to show why it works, how it works, and the technology to measure the techniques we're going to show you today. So I'm going to go ahead and get my screen share started here. And so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Everybody see that okay? Great. Okay. We're going to talk about what meditation is and isn't. There's a lot of preconceived notions about meditation, so we'll definitely dive into that. And then we're going to show you advanced techniques to get you into an alpha meditation state. And then we're going to do our live meditation after a little bio break. And then after the meditation, we're going to do a debrief, and that is just as important as the meditation. I like to talk about, these energy balls. Michael Singer always talks about the energy balls get stuck in you. And if you don't process what came up for you in the meditation, those can kind of get stuck in you. So the debrief process we're going to go through after the meditation. It's a quick one, but you want to make sure you stick around for that. All right, so there is our deep dive into meditation. So what is meditation? Let's first go through what it is and what it isn't. It is a way to make your brain waves congruent. All right, congruent brain waves means a healthy brain that can produce the correct amount of chemicals, hormones, and have your neurons in your brain talk faster and better to each other. It's not a religious sect, nor does it stem from Buddhism. In fact, they found cave dwellings with images of people meditating dating back over 5,000 years. We know that meditation predates any modern religion, okay? It's also not sitting there with your eyes closed in a lotus position with your hands in this position, okay? Frankly, most meditation techniques that get you congruent brain waves have you do a lot of controlled thinking, and that's what we're going to go through with you today in our alpha meditation practice. Stilling your mind. Most people think that they need to completely clear their mind. That is completely unnecessary and frankly almost impossible to do. I'm an extremely practiced meditator. I have spent upwards of $15,000 and more, frankly, in learning these advanced techniques, and never once, well, we did try, they had us do stilling our mind to prove to us that it doesn't work with biofeedback. So some people believe that's impossible to do. Buddhist monks say they can get there. I do know some of the techniques of Buddhist monks, and most of them don't try to get there. They use other techniques. So it's not about stilling your mind. I like to think of it as kind of bumpers in a bowling lane where you're trying to control your thoughts instead to get them into a nice fluid pattern to get you the congruent brain waves. So I'm going to use the word meditation, but you can use any word you want. If that one has some hangups for you, you can use thinking time. You can use prayer. Prayer is a form of meditation. Anything that's going to get you to get past that precondition that a lot of people have on the word meditation. I will be using the word meditation, but interchange it with anything you want anytime you hear me say that word, if it just isn't comfortable for you or fits your beliefs. The word meditation actually stems from meditatum, which is a Latin term that means to ponder, right? Again, meditation isn't about clearing your mind. It's really controlling your thought processes. And there are lots of techniques to do that. So what we're trying to do with meditation is find a better connection with our body and create a stronger awareness for what and how our emotions influence our behaviors and ultimately our health. There are thousands of studies about meditation. Over 2,000 studies right now on the benefits of meditation that can give you congruent brainwaves. So one study from the Cleveland Clinic, which is a research center very renowned for its research, it's also a medical clinic. They found that after 8 weeks of meditation, study participants had a 31% decrease in stress levels and a 28% increase in vitality, which is really just a measure on how much energy you have throughout the day. And these changes were lasting. They weren't just right after the meditation session or that day. They showed that after the 8 weeks, people actually had permanent changes, permanent coping skills for their stress levels. Another study from the Journal of American Medical Association showed that it greatly reduces insomnia and improves sleep. They showed that adults had a 27% reduction in insomnia, depression, fatigue, and fatigue severity in just 6 weeks. The San Diego School of Medicine, UCSD is my alma mater. I'm very proud of that. So they did a study around pain. They published a study in 2022 showing that mindfulness meditation interrupted the communication between brain areas involved in pain sensation. They found that participants who were actively meditating reported a 32% reduction in pain intensity and a 33% reduction in pain unpleasantness. Okay, these are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to meditation. Harvard found that, the Harvard School of Medicine found in 2022, last year, they showed that you actually get a change in your gene expression. You can change up to 172 genes. Now, these are the genes, the APO4 gene we all know is for Alzheimer's. You can turn off these genes, okay? You can regulate inflammation, your circadian rhythm, and your glucose metabolism. Studies have also shown so many other benefits, like for both physical and mental, including irritable bowel syndrome, fibromyalgia, psoriasis, anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and of course, the most exciting for me is brain health and the disease around brain health. There was a study around aging showing that the prefrontal cortex, that's a part of your brain that makes you you. It's the area of higher thinking. Okay, that's what makes humans human. That grew by over 20% on practiced meditators. It suggests that meditation can reverse the effect of shrinking on the cortex that we all kind of see when we get older. And it also implies that meditation could potentially lead to neural regeneration, which is the growing of your regenerating brain cells and the growing of your brain. So these results have a positive effect, especially on attention, memory, verbal fluency, and cognitive flexibility, which is what we're all trying to get to, right? That's why we're all here. That's what we do as a company, is to help people improve their memories. So we also know that meditation increases your gray matter in your brain and increases your hippocampal volume. The hippocampus is your memory, the main, not the only, the main memory sector of your brain. So that getting bigger, being able to store more memories, good thing, right? More importantly, it suggests that long-term daily meditation may be able to slow down the neurodegenerative processes and crucial areas of the brain. And there's growing evidence that meditation can serve as a tool for Alzheimer's and dementia prevention. So, what do we try to accomplish in our meditations? Well, we can physically change our bodies and our minds and our brains with meditation. And that is the most exciting part. If you've ever heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's absolutely one of my favorites. His own story is truly remarkable. He was in a bike race and he got hit by a car and broke 6 vertebrae in his back. And the doctors told him, he went to 3 different doctors. They all told him that he needed a Harrington rod, which is a steel post fused to your spine. He'd probably never walk again and he'd be in a wheelchair the rest of his life. I thought I might as well, this is his exact quote. I might as well take a chance here. I think that this voice kept coming up in my head saying that the power that made this body heals the body. And I thought, this power is an intelligence, and intelligence is consciousness, and consciousness is awareness, and awareness is paying attention. It must be paying attention to me. And I said, I'm not going to let any thought slip by my awareness that I don't want to experience. And so I just started reconstructing my spine and my mind, vertebrae by vertebrae, through meditation. 6 weeks after being hit by a car, he walked out of the hospital without having surgery, without a wheelchair, and has never had back pain since. So if you don't follow Dr. Joe, he's 1 in a million. We love him, and very, very good at articulating the benefits of meditation and showing you how to use it in your own life. So let's actually go through some of the different brain waves that you have in your brain. So we can talk better to why we want to get into an alpha brainwave state. Sometimes you want to go into theta. So we really want to deep dive into these brainwave states. So the first one you have is gamma, and that is your highest brainwave state. It's 30 to 100 hertz. This is, a lot of people reference gamma when that's your most dominant brainwave state. You're always in every single brainwave state. There's never, even when you're asleep, there's never a chance that you're not in any brainwave state. So your gamma being dominant, typically people refer that to you being in flow. So if you think of a rock climber and he's just in the flow and he knows exactly where to put his hands, without a rope, and he's climbing up the face in Yosemite, right? And no issues whatsoever. He makes it to the top, no problem. That's being in perfect flow when your gamma is dominant and strong. Okay, so it's not just about it being dominant, it's the strength of the brain waves as well. That's a pretty hard space to get into. Many athletes will tell you they're always trying to get in flow. There's books on hacking flow, how to get there. Getting there through meditation is one of the easiest and best ways to do it. Your beta brainwaves, we actually have high beta and mid and low beta. Now your high beta, this is when you are, it's supposed to be for when you are really productive, you're focused, you're working hard, your brain is working at an optimal level, right? Or it's when you're in danger and your brain is just firing at all cylinders to get you out of that danger. We're not meant as humans to stay in this high beta brainwave state. We're just not. And unfortunately, our brains, evolutionarily wise, never kind of figured it out that we're not being threatened by death every second of the day. And some people live in this chronic high beta brainwave state. And that leads to so many diseases as well as dementia and Alzheimer's. So it's like the gazelle, grazing in the field. All of a sudden, a lion comes and attacks it. It's going to go into high beta. A lot of its other functions in its body, like its reproductive system, those are going to shut down because it doesn't need it to get away from the lion, right? Those just shut down. But as soon as it's free and it's okay and it's safe, it goes back into an alpha brainwave state and it's great. It doesn't stay in its high beta. Well, unfortunately, as humans, we know a lot of people are chronically stressed and cannot come down from that, or have a really hard time coming down from that. And that causes, insomnia, stress. It causes things like hernias, heart disease, strokes eventually. So staying in that chronic high brainwave state is not good for you. The next one we have, and then there's beta, which typically we're in between beta and alpha most of the day if you're not chronically stressed, which is just a great place to be. I'm probably in beta right now, right? Just a low beta, nice, even keel. I'm having a lot of fun. I love doing these type of things. So that's where I'm at. Alpha, this is your really creative state. This is where you want to be when you're relaxed, you're just thinking amazing thoughts. It's your thinking time. And this is where we're going to get you today in the meditation. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So most of our day should be spent, like I said, between alpha and maybe low beta. That's where you're going to be the healthiest, longest. You're going to have the most congruent brain waves. Okay. And then you have theta. Theta is that state right before you fall asleep, or right as you're waking up. Some people have hallucinations. Some people think that that's why people see ghosts, is they're seeing these hallucinations when they're coming out of theta state. It's a really, really powerful state for creation. If you want something to come true in your life, then you're able to get into a high dominant theta state. Typically, you can make things happen pretty well. And then you have delta, which is your sleep state. Okay, now getting into theta is a very hard place to get to. Thomas Edison used to be renowned for being able to meditate in theta. Same with Albert Einstein. Edison would actually hold a ball in his hand, and when it dropped, he knew that he was in theta, and he knew it was going to delta, and he could pull himself back into theta. I have tried, I'll go through my brainwaves with you in a little bit, my exact brainwaves, and I've been working on having theta dominant meditation sessions for a while now, and it is a struggle. So that's our brainwave states. Today, we're focusing on the alpha. There's no problem always focusing on alpha brainwave states in your meditation. You don't ever have to try to get to theta. If you can just focus on getting to alpha, which is, I'm going to show you in the technique today, that will serve you the rest of your life. Okay. So we have congruent, coherent brainwaves equal health. We have incongruent, like I like to say, messed up brainwaves equal disease. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're looking at the charts that I'm going to go through with you next. We want coherent brainwaves. Incoherent equals disease. Okay, so this is, I'm going to go through some of my brainwave charts right now so you guys can actually see my meditations. Okay, I'm going to give you actual examples of my meditations and what I've been working towards. Now, I'm a practice meditator, 15 years. I don't meditate every day. I try. My best days are when I can wake up, have a great 20-minute meditation, maybe 30 minutes, go for a nice walk, 30, 45 minutes, and I have the absolute best days almost always when I can start my days like that. It only happens, especially the meditations only happen about 3 to 5 times a week. Life isn't perfect. I always like to say 80% is enough, and it is when it comes to meditation, because like I talked about earlier, your results are going to carry with you, so you don't need to do it every day. There shouldn't be this pressure to meditate every single day. No one is perfect. Very few people are going to be able to do that. 80% is enough. But if you have disease, if you have some mental issue, if you have ADHD, if you have anxiety, you may need to do it every day. You can look at it as a prescription that you need to do this every day for a while to get you those coherent brainwaves. But I promise you, you're going to feel it pretty quickly that it's working, because there's no better feeling than standing up from a great meditation. You just feel balanced and in flow. Okay, so we're actually going to look at a brain later of how a brain looks before and after meditation, going from a stressful state to not a stressful state. So I'm going to show you the first chart of one of my meditation sessions. This is my old normal. Because I'm a practice meditator, I can get into high alpha. So if you look at the first line at the top, that is alpha. Okay, I want that to be dominant if I'm getting into an alpha brainwave meditation state. Okay, the second one for me is typically beta up until recently, and then that's the green line. The purple line is your theta, and then you have your delta and your gamma. Like I said, they're all in there all the time. If you're asleep, your delta is going to be dominant. It's going to be at the top. Okay, that's how you can tell. I remember in one of our sessions, in our neurofeedback sessions, I was wearing a cap, and you fall asleep, and the monitor comes in right away and says, "Oh, you fell asleep." They could see it exactly from your charts. So this is how I used to look. It's always, I have a very strong alpha because that's what I've always practiced in. And then I typically have beta as my next dominant, and then theta, and then gamma and delta. Now I've been really working the last 6 months to get into a theta state. I've been training in it, so we'll go through that one. So this is my old normal. It's pretty congruent. The lines are pretty separate. There's a little bit of messiness going on down at the bottom. So nowadays when I meditate, it looks something more like this. So you can see my alpha is still really high. I have high alpha even if I'm working throughout the day. That's the benefit of meditation. And then you can see my brain waves are pretty messy there. At the beginning, it took me about 10 minutes, but then all my brain waves are almost completely congruent. You can you take a comb and just go right through it, right? And there won't be any tangles. So you can see that here, and that's what we're trying to get to on every meditation session. Sometimes it's harder than others. Here you can see this is the timeline. It took me over 10 minutes to get there, but I got there. Some days I get there really fast. Some days it takes me a very long time to get there. So it really just depends. And some days I never get there, and it's okay, right? Now I monitor my brain waves. I have a special app for it on my phone called Mind Monitor, and I use just the Muse. If you guys have ever seen the Muse, it's something you can buy retail, and it does a very, very good job of monitoring your brainwaves. And that's how I get these charts. So I get the biofeedback on that. So the next chart, not so pretty. This isn't mine. This is a chart of someone that has narcolepsy. And you can see this is going to be, and this is when they're awake, right? You can see the delta, the red line is very.
Can't hear you.
Someone just muted me, sorry. It's like I got a notice that said, you've just been muted. Okay, so sorry about that. Live, what can you do? So you'll see here that the delta is very high throughout the day, very, very incongruent brainwave states, right? It's just a jumbled mess. So with meditation, you can take someone like this and over time get them to have more congruent brainwave states, and you can get them to have where they have their delta isn't so high, and it'll come down, and then they can eventually get into a high alpha brainwave state. And when that happens, it's almost proven and shown for people that have done this that they can get away from their narcolepsy. Okay, this is also a brainwave. This is what somebody with Parkinson's will also look like. They'll have a very high delta throughout the day. Alzheimer's and dementia have similar, not quite high as this on the delta. It's more just a mumbled mess throughout the day. So we know that incongruence equals disease. Okay, so the next one I'm really, really excited about. have recently been able to get into a dominant theta state. Now my alpha is always still really high, but here I was able to get my theta state above my beta for the first time, almost the whole session. And this just took a lot of practice. So you can see now, instead of the green being above the purple, which is what we saw earlier, I now have the purple above the green. And it just is going to take more and more training for me to get that purple above the blue. But like I said, this is just my proud moment of working on this over and over again. It's not something you ever need to get to. Having the blue line dominant alpha on top, what we're going to get to today, is fine for the rest of your life to do. Now, if you become really into meditation like I am and know the benefits, have seen the benefits, have seen the healing benefits firsthand, then that's something you can work on down the line. So we have a memory goober program I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but we help people get to these levels, which is awesome. So if you work on this, not only will it improve your cognition and your memory and your brain health, it's going to improve your energy. It's going to improve your happiness. It's going to improve every area of your life. All right. So next we're going to look at a picture of a brain before and after meditation. So you can see the red is the very active, even actually in brainwave scans, we say it's overactive state. So this would be somebody in a high beta state, very stressed out, and they're just incoherent brainwaves. We can almost certainly tell that from looking at this. After 10 minutes of meditation, you can see the picture of them on the right. Okay, they're out of their stressed out state. Blue and green mean coherent brainwave states. It also means the different areas of your brain are talking well together. When you have a lot of red and yellow, it means your different parts of your brain are not communicating well. I always liken it to, you know, having in a third world country, having streets just piled with trash, like in India, in certain parts. You just go down the street and that's the trash can, and it's just piled so high. If you think of your brain and you think of your brain having these highways and these roads, and if they're so full of trash, they can't communicate well together. You can't drive through those roads. You can barely walk through those roads, right? So the practice of meditation, as well as other methods I'll talk about in a bit, help clean out those roads, right? The cleaning crew comes in, they clean it out, and now you can drive fast through them, and your different parts of your brain can communicate better together, right? It's like a muscle. If you don't let it relax, it will get into a chronically stressed out state. So like your heart, if your heart is constantly working hard, or if you're constantly running a marathon, right? This is where it just is not going to be able to keep up. Your muscles can't keep up that sustained work that long. Your brain is the same way. If you don't let it relax, if you don't let it come down from that high beta, then you will get sickness and you will get a heart attack in your heart. If you do, you know, if you're running a marathon all day, every day, you're going to put too much stress on that heart. Same thing with your brain. You have to give it that time to come down and relax. Now, what's the appropriate amount of time? That really depends. If you're starting out, just taking 30 seconds to a minute a couple times a day to just sit and relax, close your eyes, and focus on your breathing will be enough just to start. I'm not asking if you've never done meditation before to sit down and do a 30-minute session. I'm going to ask you to try to do it today, but because I'm going to be guiding you, it's going to be a lot easier. But you just work up to it. You start with maybe 30 seconds, a minute. There's nothing wrong with using guided meditations. I love them. If I haven't meditated for a while, I will go to a guided meditation. There's an app called Calm. It's free. It gives you it lets you work up. It starts with, I think, 5 minutes the first day and works you up, and it just guides you. So if you don't know any techniques on how to meditate, right? How are you going to go sit down and meditate? It would be like me, I love to surf. It would be like me throwing out a surfboard and saying, hey, go catch a wave. You don't know how to do it. No one's ever taught you. You've never taken a lesson, right? So how do you know what to do? People think that they can just sit down and start meditating without any techniques, without ever being taught, without anything, without knowing how to do any of it. Well, you can't. Okay, you can sit there and what's going to happen is your brain's just going to go crazy and you're just going to have it, your brain running 1,000,000 miles per hour until you know what to do and you know how to train it. So that's what we're going to teach you today, which I'm really excited about getting to. So I'm going to go through this advanced technique in the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're going to do a few Q&As. If you guys have any that haven't been answered in the chat so far. And then we're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back and do the live meditation session where I'm going to guide you through the process I'm going to teach next. So one of the best ways to get into alpha that I've ever learned, and I know hundreds of techniques, they all come back to the same thing. And it may sound cheesy or woo-woo, and I don't know why it works, but it does. It's gratitude, forgiveness, and really coming back to love. And I don't know why these are the strongest of human traits of emotion. They are completely opposite of fear, right? And scarcity. And those trigger your amygdala. That's the center of your brain. It's one of the oldest centers of our brain that is the fear center state. So when that is triggered, you're going to feel fear. You're going to get, your heart's going to race. You're going to feel that stressed out state. You're going to get incongruent brain waves. But when you feel the opposite of that, which is gratitude and forgiveness and then love, it makes it so your amygdala can't even function. So you can't feel that fear. You can't feel that scarcity, right? So that's where you want to get to in these. And so this technique, it starts with a guide. Now, I'm not going to get political here. When we talk about guides, I'm a skeptic. And for years, everyone's like, oh, ask the universe, ask God, ask, Jesus, whatever it is for help and guidance. And no matter how many times I asked, whomever I asked, I never got an answer. And so when I learned this technique and they said guide, I was like, oh, here we go, but it works for this. And it's because you're not picking God or Jesus or the universe or anything big like that. You want to pick something smaller, pick something alive, and it cannot be a person, okay, living or dead. It's got to be something smaller. So in your guide, maybe you pick, your favorite tree that you're looking out the window. You just want some energy to support you through this process, because you're going to circle back to it at the end. So pick a tree, pick a cloud, pick something small. Oops, went too far there. So you want your guide, and then you're going to pick your person or place, your person and place. And so when we go through this process today, I'm going to ask you to please pick something small. So I know we all need to do a lot of forgiveness with ourselves, and maybe a lot of forgiveness with our parents in the past or other people that have hurt us in the past. That is when you get really good at this technique. That is not to start with. To start with, you want to pick something small. Let's say it was an argument with your spouse or a friend you had in the last couple of days. Something that's somebody else and that's small and easy to forgive, because what you want to do is actually get to a place of forgiveness. And on your first time doing this, so that you can feel what that forgiveness does to your brain waves to make them congruent, I want you to pick something small. So when we go on break, I want you to think of what that thing is, but for now, just stay with me. You want to, so your person place. Let's say for me, it was an argument with my husband because, he didn't check in for our flight. And so we got bumped from the flight. We missed our flight, right? I was really frustrated. We're with my son. We have to be at this happened just 2 weeks ago, right? And we were going to a funeral, and it was very upsetting that we got bumped from our flight, and it was going to be 24 hours more before we could fly out. So let's say I pick that, right? He's easy to forgive. I love him, been with him for almost a decade, and I have my son with him. Very easy to forgive, but it was very aggravating for me, especially at that moment in time, right? So that's something I would pick. And the reason we're doing this, if you think about therapists, right, they do this talk therapy, and what they're trying to do is get you to peel back these layers over the years of talking to them. This is an extraordinarily accelerated technique to get you past these things that are stuck inside of you, whether it's from childhood, whether it's from, the argument you had with your spouse last week that's maybe ongoing, maybe things like this keep happening. It's to peel away those onion layers so you can free yourself of all these anxious emotions that cause you harm. Okay, no one likes to think of time and be reminded of a time that they feel scared. And again, human emotions. We are able to think of an argument we had a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, and our bodies will react. Our hearts will start to pump. We'll start to get the same high cortisol, stressed out chemicals in our brain, incoherent brainwave states that we had when we were in the moment. I don't know if there's any other animal on the planet, none that we know of, that are able to do that. We can recreate an emotional state like that. Okay, so that I'm actually going to ask you to do that in this technique. So find the person, the place. The next thing you're going to do is the charge. So in my example, the charge would be my husband didn't check us in early, and so we missed our flight, right? Simple as that. So the next thing is, and this one takes time, you're going to go back and you're going to feel the emotions. You can't glide over this one. In order to release the emotional attachment you have to that event, and again, we're starting small, but eventually you can go deep. You can forgive your parents for abuse, alcoholism. You can forgive yourself for abuse, alcoholism, or anything else. You can forgive yourself for not doing what you said you were going to do in your life, or, you know, for creating, maybe you're obese, or whatever it is. You're going to eventually have to go and forgive yourself. But right now, let's take it small pieces. And then you're going to heal yourself. So go through the emotions. If anyone's seen this movie, I love this movie. It's all these little characters with emotions in this little girl's head. And it's a Disney Pixar movie. And so you have joy, and you have anger, and you have fear, you have sadness, right? And so you have all these emotions in your head. I want you to feel them. I want you to go back and recreate this experience you had. Get back to the fight, right? Get back to the argument. Get back to that anger, and really feel it. I'm talking feel it. And most people don't want to go back there, but unless you take the emotion out of the attachment to what you're feeling, you're not going to be able to work your way through it. You're not going to be able to get through it. Okay. Now, when you get to this state, I can almost guarantee you're in an alpha brainwave state. When you get to an emotional state, your alpha can get really high. Now, your delta may creep up there too. And especially your beta, if you're feeling a lot of anger, and you can put a name to it. I'm feeling angry at you. I'm feeling mad, pissed off, right? You put attachments, put names to those feelings, and really feel them inside. And then once you're done with that, and sometimes this is the absolute hardest part, but this, if you're not an alpha brainwave yet, you will be there with this one. You're going to find the gift. What is the gift of that moment? What is the gift of that happening? Okay, so in the example with my husband, right, I can go back, and we learned a lesson to always check in before the flight. That's a lesson, and it's not really a gift. The gift is in how my husband handled it, right? And it proves to me again that he is very good at taking care of us. He immediately went, booked 3 more flights. We were on another flight in 3 hours, and we made it no problem for the funeral. Like, he can handle pressure under stress, and it made me love him even more, right? It made me really realize how well I'm kind of getting a little bit anxious about this situation. It was the funeral of my dad's girlfriend of 30 years. It was very emotional anyway. And he was able to just be my rock. And that was the gift, to see that, to know it, to realize it. That put me in extraordinarily high alpha state right there. That emotion, that feeling, right? So the next thing after finding the gift, and sometimes it's hard to find. And if you can't find it, you want to go back into the emotions. You want to go back to that feeling state, that anger, that sadness, that fear, until you can find it. And sometimes when you start going deep with your own stuff, you may have to go back 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. You may not even finish it in the session. And if you're really having to go back, then that typically means you pick something too big. Chunk it out a little bit. Don't pick your father's alcoholism. Pick that one time that he forgot to pick you up from school because he was too drunk. Peel the onion layers back. Hope that makes sense for everybody. The next thing is going to really boost the strength of your alpha, and that's forgive through to love. And if it's someone you truly love, this is going to be very easy. If it's someone that really harmed you, stole from you, damaged you, this could be really hard and could take years, but maybe you just take that one small moment where you can forgive them through to love. Just one small piece, because that's healing you inside. You don't want to hang on to that anger. You don't want to hang on to those emotional states. Those are going to make you sick eventually, right? You want to get rid of those. You want to be free of that anger, of that fear, of that sadness, of that anxiousness. This is going to get you there. You're going to forgive through to love. And then the next part here is you are going to go ahead and ask your guide if you're done. Am I done? And this is where I don't know what it is. I've asked a million times for guidance and I never hear voices, but this one I can hear very clearly. Hey, energy of that tree that I love outside, am I done? Yes. And you just hear it, just like that. Maybe it's no, maybe you need to go back, or maybe it's yes for now, or yes on this. Okay, I can't tell you how many times I've done this. I've led this exact technique many, many, many times. Everybody hears it. I don't know what it is, but everybody hears it. So this is the technique. If you want to do this a couple times a week, your brain readings are going to look a lot different than people of the same age, right? And that's where we want to get you to. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to go take a little, let's see what time it is. Okay, so we're going to take a 7-minute break. So it's 1:17. We'll come back at 1:25. I'm on Central Standard Time. We're going to come back in about 7 minutes and we're going to go into this meditation. I'm going to guide you through it. And then so when you guys come back, please, while you're on break, go take a potty break. Think about what you want to do for this reset. Find a comfortable place. Again, sitting, lying down, it doesn't matter. You just want to be able to hear me and you don't want to be interrupted. Okay, and I'm going to guide you through this process so that you don't have to remember it. I'm going to start with getting you with some breath work that's going to get you more into a settled state. And then afterwards, very, very important, we want you to come back for the debrief. And the debrief, like I said at the beginning, it's very important because you don't want to hang on to this. You have to process what happened. You have to process what the gift was, what the forgiveness through to love felt like. And that's different. Sometimes it's a hug for me. I'm hugging somebody. Sometimes, I don't know, you get these crazy visions of like melding together. It's really different for everybody. So well, now it's going to be 1:26. So take 7 minutes. No, that'll still be 1:25. So take 7 minutes. We'll go on a break. I'm going to stop sharing here and then we're going to come back and dive right into this. Thank you guys. See you in a minute.
Are you muted? I don't hear you.
Quite intense for people. And so you don't cut off. All right. So now we're going to go through the live meditation portion of today's training. And I'm going to take you through what I just took you through. So we'll give it just another minute while people are coming back. Welcome back, Dominique, Susan, Roger. Hi, glad to have you guys here. So in this next section, it's probably going to take about 20-25 minutes. And what I want you to do is you can be seated. It doesn't matter if you're seated or lying down. I just want you to be comfortable. If seated, put both feet on the ground, lean back. It's the best posture to have when you're seated anyways, to be not quite a 45-degree angle, but you want to be leaning back a little bit with both feet on the ground. So you don't cut off any blood circulation to your legs. And or you can go lie down, just as long as you can hear me. Okay, so what we're going to do is everybody just take a minute, get in a comfortable position, get a pillow under your head if you need to. There's no right or wrong. You don't need to be in a lotus position, but go ahead and get in a comfortable position and close your eyes. Okay, if you want, turn off your video, do whatever you need to do to feel like you can get into this. Okay, sometimes this can be quite intense for people. So if you're not comfortable having your video on, I don't know that anyone's watching anyway, we're all going to have our eyes closed, but feel free to turn off your video. It's a stop video button at the bottom of your Zoom. You'll see that little turn off video. So once you're in a comfortable position, go ahead and close your eyes. And everybody take one really deep breath in, and then a deep breath out. And when you're breathing in, try to breathe from about 2 inches below your belly button. Okay, that's where you want to fill up that space. Okay, so let's do another deep breath in and out. Now I'm going to have you breathe in on the count of 6. You're going to hold it for a count of 4, and we're going to release it for another count of 6 and hold it for a count of 4. We're going to do this 5 times, okay? So in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 more times. In, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. One more. In, hold, out, hold. Now I want you to envision a white light circling the bottoms of your feet and around your toes. I want you to imagine that light moving slowly around your feet and your toes and through your feet, penetrating every cell in your foot. And as that white light spins around and around, it's going to start to move up to your ankles, penetrating every bone, every fiber, every ligament in your ankles and your feet. It's going to move up to your calves, slowly circling your calves, going around and around, through every muscle fiber, up to your knees. It's going to heal any knee pain, joint pain, knee problems, healing, nice, light, circling, making its way up to your quads, around to your hamstrings, to your buttocks and your hips, circling around your belly, your internal organs, penetrating every organ, every blood cell, up to your stomach, your lungs, your heart, and your chest. Now it's circling your arms, your whole midsection, to your upper chest where we get a lot of infections, sending in healing white light and energy into your upper chest and your throat. Just picture your throat nice and healed, strong. Keep circling the white energy up and up through your head, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your forehead, goes up above your head, and then comes down and circles your whole body at the same time. Take another deep breath. And now I want you to think of your guide. Remember again to pick something small. Pick a cloud, a tree, some nice music. And you want this, ask this energy to be your guide. Next, I want you to choose the person and place that you chose on the break. Again, something small. Think of that person in the moment when it happened and where you were. Now I want you to think of the charge. What is the charge? What did they do that got you angry, mad? What was the argument over? What was the fear? Name that charge. Now, the next part, we're going to take 5 to 10 minutes for you to go into. I want you to really feel that emotion of the charge. Feel the fear, feel the anger. Get back into the emotional high beta state you were in when this occurred. Be angry, be sad, be scared, whatever happened to you in that moment, whatever came to you, feel that again. Your heart may race, your blood may boil, your face may flush. It's okay. Feel it deep. When you feel like you felt it, go deeper. Really feel it. Why did it trigger you? What came up for you? Why did it make you so angry? Don't let it go further than the charge. It may be a reoccurring pattern of this person. Try to bring back to just the one time. You don't want to bring other resets into this one. Make it just about the one event. So if your brain starts to wander, bring it back to the one time. Feel the sadness, feel the anger. Now I want you to try to find the gift. What was the gift in that moment? What did you learn from that? What was that thing that will allow you to move past this moment and let it go? If you can't find the gift, go back and feel the emotional state. Feel that anger again. Feel why you were so triggered. And then try to find the gift again. Once you found the gift, I want you to feel what it feels like to forgive that person. And I want you to forgive through to love. What does that look like? How do you forgive somebody? Do you hug them? Do you take their hands? What image is coming up for you? If they were to walk in the room right now, can you turn to them and say, I forgive you and I love you? This doesn't have to be someone you love that you ever want to see again. But to forgive through the love is to forgive so that you can love others and you can love fully and not hang on to that fear and that anger that doesn't serve you. None of that serves you. Be grateful for this person. Be grateful for the gift. Show your gratitude. Feel your gratitude. Picture that image. What does that look like for you? Express that forgiveness through to love fully. What images are conjuring in your head? What emotions are you feeling? Can you feel the calmness of your heart? Are you tingling? Can you feel like your hands are floating or maybe they're heavy? Feel your body right now in a state of gratitude, of love, and forgiveness. Feel that state. That is your alpha brainwave state. Now, as you come out of your state of forgiveness, still feel it. Ask your guide, whatever it was, whatever energy it was, am I done? Now I want you to take 3 more big breaths. We're going to take 7 breaths in and 8 breaths out to finish this meditation. If your guide said you were not done, I recommend you go in either later tonight or tomorrow morning, which are the best times to meditate, before and after bed, and start it again and try again with maybe something smaller. But for now, let's take a big breath in on 7 counts. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out on 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do that 2 more times. In, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you can open your eyes and come back to me. Anytime you do a reset like this, you want to make sure you do what we call a debrief. You don't want to leave yourself hanging, because if you stay stuck in a state of fear or anger and you're not able to get out of that stage of the reset, you don't want to stay stuck there. So what you want to do is write down your experience. So when we're done with the session today, take a minute, write down your experience, write down what your reset was, write down the charge, write down your guide, write down what you felt, write down every step, write down what the gift was, write down what it looked like to forgive through to love. And then you're going to want to go ahead, and what's going to happen is you're going to be really surprised at what comes up for you afterwards when you've gone through this. It may not be what you actually found. Sometimes I find the gift after I'm done. I thought I found the gift, and then I didn't find the gift. When I'm writing down, when I'm talking to it, when I'm processing my thoughts and emotions around it, that is when new stuff comes up that I realized I didn't know. I find a different gift, I feel different emotions, and then you're able to let it go. That small thing, it may be just a small thing of a much bigger thing, but if you can let go of that piece, it's one layer to the onion of things that you need to let go of that have been building up your whole life. And if you do this 3 to 5 times a week, your brain readings will look a lot different than others of the same age. We see it every single day. Our clients get an average of 19% better memory, 15% better energy, and 27% better moods when they work with us, and typically just 10 weeks, through things like meditation. But it's not just meditation. That is a great start. But meditation is only one of my 10 pillars of brain health. The others are there to get your hormones in balance, the chemicals in your brain elevated in cases like BDNF, and reduced in other cases like cortisol and stress, and grow new brain cells like we talked about earlier. I hear a lot that it's impossible to grow new brain cells, and that was science from the 80s. But we've known for more than 30 years you can grow new brain cells. The process is called neurogenesis. And what grows new brain cells? Meditation that we went over today is an excellent way, and our other 9 pillars of brain health. Thank you again for watching today, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you.